Deuteronomy is an interesting chapter as well as many of the Old Testament chapters, and used to read through them thinking, well, that's just history with the Jewish people. But it's been revealed to me that what God doesn't like in here that it pertained to the Jewish people, since Hebrews, I can't remember the verse 13:3 or something like that. It says one of those verses in Hebrews says that Jesus Christ, which Jesus Christ said that he was I am Yeshua, which is God and Christ. They're one. He said, I'm the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So I'm just reading. I'm just going to take a portion of this. I'm not going to. There's some interesting stuff here about what they eat and different things that he's telling his people as they come into these lands. And this goes, let's see. Let's try with verse 29 in chapter 12 of Deuteronomy. When Yahweh, your Elohim, cuts off from before you. Yahweh, of course, is God. Your Elohim is God. This is his transliterated name. I believe it. Well, it's his, forgot what they call that, but in some Bibles and different things, they don't want to use his name because they're not for sure what it is. It's Yeshua or Yahuwah is God, and Yeshua is what people say is Jesus, which I won't get all into that. It's something interesting to study from the different words from the Hebrew on down through the Greek, and it was transliterated, I think, into Latin, and it became, Jesus, and then Jesus, and all these things. But going back to the Hebrew and the original, what he was called Yahweh, is what a lot of scholars say, and actual name Yahuwah. Okay, but anyway, when Yahweh, your Elohim, which just means God, cuts off from before you the nations which you go to dispossess, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, guard yourself that you are not ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed from before you, and that you do not inquire about their mighty ones, their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their mighty ones? And let me do so too. I wonder what they did. Did they worship them at certain times of the year, maybe? And did they, cut down trees and put them in their house and different things? I don't know. You can look all that up yourself. I'm not going to get into all that, but I believe they did. I believe they did a lot of things like that, as far as Odin and different ones and some of the pagan lands. But okay, do not do so to Yahweh your Elohim, for every abomination which Yahweh hates, which Yahweh hates, they have done to their mighty ones, for they even burn their sons and daughters in the fire to their mighty ones. All the words I am commanding you, guard to do it. Do not add to it, nor take away from it. So, how mad does he get about certain things like this? How about Exodus 32? In Exodus 32, Moses was up on the mountain getting the Ten Commandments, and Aaron saw and built an altar before come, because all these people were like, where's Moses? And he's the one that brought us out of Israel, but we need something to worship God with. So he took from their hand and he formed it he took all the golden earrings and that were in their ears and they all brought them to Aaron, and he took them and he made a golden calf. And then they built an altar, and he called out and said, tomorrow is a festival for Yahweh. Tomorrow is a festival for Yahweh. So they're using this golden calf. They're thinking in their mind, this is okay. And they rose early on the next day and offered burnt offerings and everything else they normally do. And Yahweh said to Moses, which is Moses, go get down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Mizraim, which is Egypt, have corrupted themselves. And he turned aside quickly, and he goes on down. He says, yeah, I've seen these people, and they're stiff-necked people. Now let me alone, that my wrath may burn against them, and I'll consume them, and I'll make of you a great nation. But Moses pleaded with Yahweh and said, Yahweh, why does your wrath burn against your people whom you have brought out of the land of Mizraim with great power and with a strong hand? Why should the Mizrahites, that's the Egyptians, speak and say, for evil he brought them out to kill them in the mountains and to consume them from the face of the earth? So God was mad enough, even though it says, they were doing it for him, supposedly, but he had told them differently. He told them not to do this type of stuff. Even, back in here, he's told these people over and over and over, and he has to do it again over here in some other scriptures, and it talks about it in Jeremiah. It talks about it over and over and over. He tells these people not to do these things, and they keep rebelling and doing it anyway. They just do their own thing, even if they say, oh, well, my heart's right. Okay. Does that sound familiar? And it says, he goes on down. He basically talks God out of killing them all. And I think that Aaron or somebody down here somewhere, they says they saw the dancing and all this stuff, and people dancing to the calf, and he took the calf and he turned it into powder, and it goes on down, and they get some people with some swords, and they kill a bunch of them. And I don't know if any. I have to read a little closer, but from my understanding, none of these people went into the promised land. And he said, that's. He said, thus says Yahweh Elohim of Israel, each one put a sword to his side, pass over and to and from the gate of the camp, and each one slay his brother, and each one his friend, and each one his relative. That's how much God did not care for people worshiping him in a way that he said not to. So this is a short lesson on that. And what gets me the most is that, I had reached out to several pastors I know. I mean, about every church around that I know of still celebrates Christmas and Easter. And I asked them about these scriptures. I asked them about Deuteronomy 12. I've asked them about several other scriptures. And I've had some dialogue with some of them, and they just come back and say, this is just some type of movement, and people preaching about this online and stuff is just some type of Hebrews roots movement or some junk like that. But they don't address these scriptures. If God is the same yesterday and today and tomorrow, which he has to be a just God, he can't punish somebody for being one way here, I don't think, and then back here say it's okay. Otherwise, all the arguments about same-sex marriage and everything else pretty much could be valid. If you believe that, then I guess turn this video off. But everybody I've asked about it, no one, and I know a lot of pastors. I'm a minister myself. I'm an ordained minister myself, and I'm telling you, I know a lot. And I've reached out to a lot. There's only been a couple of people that have been pastors that have at least taught in churches that agree, that have come back and told me that they agree. And no, they're not of some, they're not Jehovah's Witnesses. They're not Seventh-day Adventists or anything. They all believe, I know they believe that too, that they don't celebrate it. I've seen people that have been to theology school, have big churches, and they still celebrate all this stuff, even though I have asked them directly about these scriptures, and zero have come back and told me why these scriptures aren't valid. They ignore me, and they go on their way. So this is a warning to everybody that wants to look at this. Ask your pastor about those scriptures, and see if he can tell you why, with scriptures, why these scriptures are no longer valid. That's my challenge to you. If you want to know the truth and the truth sets you free and be in obedience, then, if you find out that this is all somewhere washed away and it doesn't have to be heated anymore, somewhere else in these scriptures, please let me know, because I want to know. Thank you so much.